coming to work. Everybody is back, back to the offices. Welcome to Family and Values. This is Galaxy Television, where we are reaching out for the stars. My name is Joy Abu. Of course, like I used to say, Family and Value is where we discuss everything that has to do with family. We talk about health, we talk about relationships, we talk about business. Yes, I used to say a good family is the beginning of a better society. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Family and Values on Galaxy Television, where we are reaching out for the stars. Yes, sorry for that little break. We needed to set some things in place, Okay, yes, like I was saying, the schools are back again to complete the section and prepare themselves for the long vacation. Parents are already getting ready, Today was a very busy day, very busy. The roads, everybody is back to work. The Salah holiday is over, and everybody is getting back to work. Schools, of course, definitely have resumed after the long 1 week and 2 weeks break. My name still remains Joy Abu. Thank you for being our guest on the show this morning. We are streaming across all our social media platforms. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yes, I'll keep begging. We need you to subscribe. Turn on your Facebook and X notifications so that you know when Family and Values is on the show. Like I said, when you see these beautiful faces, today is this beautiful face you're going to be seeing. Yes, because my better half, Olori, is still under the weather. I saw her yesterday. She's doing pretty well, and I was telling her, I better come back, Joe. We are missing you here. So, yeah, so Olori, we are missing you. We are hoping that you get well and return back to your duty post. Okay, today promises to be another exciting, informative, educative one today. Yes, today's topic is very, very important because we are seeing a lot in the society these days, and we are trying to understand what is happening. Why is this one going this way? Why is this one talking this way? Well, today we are going to be discussing all of that about this topic because somehow it has brought about controversy. But along the line, our barrister will help us do justice to the topic. On that note, let's go on our mini feature, and when we return, our guest will be joining us via Zoom on this conversation. See you on the other side. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back from that mini feature. From that mini feature, you understand that we are talking about polygamy and its consequences. Okay, now, a lot of people have been dragged over social media. Okay, you're married to Mr. A and B, and you're keeping B and C in this place. A lot of people will marry someone outside the country, then come back to Nigeria and get married. And the one outside doesn't know there is a co-wife here in Nigeria. And people have been asking questions. Are there consequences? What does Nigerian laws have to say about this? Well, we are going to be looking at all of it and the controversies that come with it. And then for those of you that intend to or have somebody that is practicing it, we've seen things over social media. Somebody will come back and say, I never knew he was married. And then people at the registry don't want to get married, and a woman shows up with kids and said, no, I'm the legal wife. I'm the one that, and they're like, Olga, did you marry before? Or, and yes, we were divorced. Show us papers. And there are no documents, nothing, So we are going to be having that conversation today. Let's know what it is all about and how to go about it in case you found yourself in that shoes, or you know somebody that knows somebody that is in that shoes. We have Barrister Shade Suleiman joining us via Zoom here from Lagos. Good morning, ma'am. Oh, good to see you. I miss this.
Hi, Joe.
I miss this. Fine. I miss this beautiful face in the studio. Let me scream.
I look good too. I actually talked to you there, but it's all good. You can hear
yourself.
It's all
good, yes.
Hello,
yes,
everyone.
It's always good. Thank God for technology. We can still have you on the show. Okay.
Amazing. We are busy.
Yes,
Yeah.
so we are discussing polygamy and its consequences. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, this is polygamy. Some people will say, no, it is not. In Nigeria, it cannot be. What is it all about? And are there consequences to these actions?
Okay. Bigamy. Okay. I'm trying to see, when I was preparing for this, I wanted to break it down to make it as easy as possible for anybody to understand without
so that
the legal
the one
jargon.
on the street
So
will understand.
bigamy is simply it's simply an act of marrying one person while legally married to another. Okay. And there are provisions in the criminal code and the penal code that make this, a crime. The criminal code section 370 and penal code section 384 says any person who having a husband or wife living marries in any case in which such marriage is void by reason of taking place during the lifetime of such a husband, that wife or husband is guilty of a felony and liable to imprisonment for 7 years. Okay, let me break it down.
7 years.
What we're saying now is, if you are legally married, that means statutorily. That means, let me break it to the language you understand, the court marriage, the registry marriage. That's the legal marriage. A marriage that takes place in a licensed place, that is, that has a license to conduct marriages. That is a legal marriage. So if you're legally married like that and you have not divorced, that means you've not gotten a decree absolute, that's what they call it, from the court saying that you are divorced, or that person, the spouse is dead. If you marry anybody else whilst your spouse is still living and you're not divorced from the spouse, then you have committed bigamy. And it's 7 years imprisonment. That's what the criminal code states. But let me now bring something that has, changed this. In Lagos State, because when it comes to the criminal code, it's not on what we call the exclusive list, which means that states can legislate upon it. So recently, I think it was 2011, Lagos State decided to decriminalize bigamy, which means that if you conduct your marriage in Lagos State and you now marry another person, the only recourse you have is a civil suit. That person can no longer go to jail because they married someone else. So Lagos State has decriminalized bigamy, and so far it's only Lagos State, which means that if the person is in Lagos State and marries another person, they cannot go to that 7 years imprisonment. You can maybe just pursue civil suit for damages, for emotional harm, and all of that. But if other states of the federation, it is still, tenable that it's still a crime, because the criminal code and the penal code still subsist. And note that it's a spouse. That means a woman can be guilty of it, a man too can be guilty of it.
Okay, I love the fact that you said 7 years, and my head is already thinking, that my uncle that married, that traveled to US, got married, had 3 kids, then he came back to Nigeria, picked the lady from the village, got married to her, and has 5 kids. Now, the one in US does not know that there is a co-wife somewhere here in Nigeria. And then one day, I'm there happens. There is a big family reunion and they are dancing. And first Yahoo comes and everybody is saying, hello, sir. When did you get married? And both of them are bringing court certificates that, yes, we got married in the registry. How do you go about such a situation? Are you going to sue the man so that he will serve 7 years in jail, or they are going to just settle it?
Well, in that case, it's the wife that, the first wife, which is the one you said got married abroad, that has the right to sue. And if it depends on where. If it's in the UK, I can tell you that the laws there are very alive. And if she sues him there, he's definitely going to face the law, as it were. You understand? Because that's where the first marriage was conducted. Because that's the legal wife. Because if it was conducted under the Marriage Act, the Matrimonial Causes Act, that's the legal wife, and she's the one that has recourse to the law to make sure that that man is dealt with. And in the US, in the UK, the law is stricto sensu. But I can tell you that in Nigeria, the reason why Lagos State decided to decriminalize, bigamy was that in 40 years that law had been there, not one person had been brought to court. Because you know how African men, quote unquote, are said to be polygamous by nature. So you find that no woman had actually taken any man, to face the wrath of the Lord. Neither has any man taken any woman to face the wrath of the Lord. So that was why the Lagos State Assembly decided that we're going to remove these criminal aspects, because nobody has used it. It has become a dormant law. So the only, like I said, the only redress that you can seek is now civil. And of course, when it comes to inheritance, that also, the legal wife always trumps. That's the way it works. So really and truly, in that situation you mentioned, it is the first wife who has that recourse. And hopefully, if the husband goes back there, she can now seek redress over there, because that's where the first marriage was conducted, and that's where the wrong happened, and that's where they have jurisdiction to try him.
Okay, now, I love the fact that you said for over 40 years in Lagos State, nobody, so everybody just keeps, okay, fine, it has happened, let's settle it out of court. Now, let's look at the inheritance aspect of it, where children are being involved from both marriages, and suddenly the man is no longer alive and properties have to be shared, and there was no will. Such a situation, as a barrister, how would you handle such? Because, like I said earlier on, both wives are presenting to you verified documents from the registry that, okay, yes, you got married to me in UK, this is our court papers, and you got married to me here in Nigeria, and I'm having the registry documents. And the man is no longer alive, and inheritance have to be shared among the children. How do you go about such a situation?
Well, the truth of the matter is, any marriage, that is conducted, is any second marriage that is conducted after a first one that is legally done under the act is, we say in the legal jargon it is void ab initio. That means it's as if it never happened. That's the way the law treats it. It's totally void. That second marriage is totally void. That's the way the law treats it. And of course, it now, extends to inheritance. Because if he made a will, like you said, definitely everything he said there would be followed stricto sensu. But if he doesn't make a will, there's a problem, because the laws will not recognize those children. The law will not recognize. There are decided cases to that effect, that the law will not recognize those other children that were, born, as it were, outside of the legal marriage. So, but in a country like ours, where, the customary thing will begin to come in, the Islamic law might begin to come in, well, it all depends on what if the family comes out and says, the customary this, in our culture, this is this, the Islamic comes that, this is the way we do it in our religion and all of that. All those things are issues that might rise. But I can tell you that strictly, as a lawyer, if someone like that comes to me, we're going to pursue it to the end, because that second marriage is void and invalid, and the children cannot inherit.
Wow, the children cannot inherit. So that means they are going to lose out of inheritance of their biological father, simply because the wife is not recognized by the courts. That's what you're trying to make us understand this morning. Okay, now what's the difference?
That is how it is. Like I said, Joy, that is how it is strictly. But in anything we are doing, we have to understand that this is Africa. This is Nigeria. This is Africa. This is bigamy law. And a lot of the things that was imported, from colonialism and the common law and all of that. And a lot of time when it comes to practice here in a country like Nigeria, it rarely works like that. That's the truth. But that's the law, like I said, stricto sensu. And there have been decided cases. In fact, there are ongoing cases on it, and there have been some decided cases that have said that, no, the children cannot inherit.
Okay, so what's the difference between bigamy and polygamy? People will say, men are polygamous in nature. By African standard and culture, a man can wake up today, just bring in a second wife and tell the first wife, I've gotten married, give her room. And nobody will say anything, and they'll say, yes, that is our culture. Like you said, the other one is imported. So what's the difference? What makes the difference between these two, that you say, okay, this is what is outstanding in this one, and this is what is outstanding in this one? because people will capitalize on the fact that we are polygamous in nature. And you see a lot of men out there, they are out of the country, and they have wives here in Nigeria that are recognized by the family, you know, because they believe that the one over there is not going to come back anytime soon, or the children, they are not going to know their roots. And then one day the woman shows up with her children and they say, oh, the man is polygamous in nature. But what's the difference between those two?
Okay. Bigamy is just a subset of polygamy. But, you know, what has made bigamy, you know, the way it is that everybody talks about it is that, you know, it's an offense. It's a, you know, it's basically made, as it were, to protect the monogamous nature of marriage, which, like you say, is not usually our culture in Africa. So what a polygamy just means you have more than one wife. You understand? But why a lot of people run to the courts is that bigamy will only happen, you know, you can only happen if you went through what is called a court marriage, a marriage in a registry. You understand? Even a church wedding, it has to be a church wedding that takes place in a licensed place. That is, that person has to have the license to conduct a marriage under the law. So if you decide, that's why you find a lot of men are going to say, I will never go and do court marriage. I will never go and do registry marriage, because they all know that, you know, this bigamy can, the issue of bigamy can arise. So they'll tell you that, no, we are a customary man. Let's just do church. Let's just do traditional. Let's just do, because if you go through the court wedding, the registry wedding, the marriage under the Marriage Act, and you now marry another wife, I can tell you that that second marriage is void, and your first wife, legal wife, quote and unquote, has recourse to the law. But if it's just polygamy, you know, you marry 2-3 wives, one customary, one under Islamic law, you know, and all of that, there's no problem. You know, that's part of why the issue with Lagos State arose, because, you know, everybody is like, oh, usually they even tell the wife she agrees before they bring in another one. So why should there be an issue and all of that? But if that first wife was married legally, and you marry someone else and she wants to make it an issue, or he, because I keep saying she, you know, it can be both ways, or he wants to make it an issue, even though it's very rare for us to find women marrying a second husband here in a part of the world, but that's what the law says anyway. So if that first, you know, spouse, let me use the word spouse now, if that first spouse decides to take it up legally because they know that they have a marriage under the Act, then issues can arise. In most places, they can seek criminal recourse. In a state, but in Lagos State, they can seek civil recourse. And of course, when it comes to inheritance, you can have an issue can arise where I'm saying that, no, it's my husband, I'm the legal wife, these are my children, and nobody else will be recognized. Of course, it's a tussle, but, you know, if you can stick to it, I can tell you that the law is on your side.
Okay, Barrister, I'm going to hold you there. Let's go on our word of marvel. When we return, we'll continue this conversation. I'll see you shortly.
You know, that challenge is actually a foundational matter in my own understanding. And whenever such things occur, all the individual has to do is, first of all, tackle it, go to the foundation, tackle the foundational issues, and the chances of reoccurring will not come up again. Because whatever happens has tendency of playing out again if not handled properly. Now, in my own case, in my own family, such foundational issues are not there. So the chances of such things playing out even in the future is not there. Coupled with the fact that we have taken a particular part of serving the law right from childhood. So such issues don't even have tendency of occurring even in the future. This is not even something to even think about, because I don't think I will allow them go free. Because I don't see why I'm legally married to you, then you now go and marry another person. I will definitely sue them.
I'll leave them to enjoy themselves. It's a free world. Everybody can do what he wants or what she wants. So I'll leave them to enjoy themselves.
But in situations where such things happen, number one, I will forgive my wife. Because I am very sure that there are issues that both of us has to put straight. So all we have to do now is get back to our drawing board to see what led to it and start tackling such issues. Because most of the time things like this happen because of neglect. Things like this happen because probably either of the spouse are not playing their role properly. So all you have to do is get back to your drawing board to ensure that such excesses are corrected, because it's not a time for you to be thinking about a divorce, because that's not the path that Christ has stipulated for us.
First of all, I will confront my wife. I will not meet the man because I'm legally married to her. When I meet her, I will ask her, what's the problem? What did I lack that make her left me to meet the other man? If it's issue that we will solve, talk. If it's not issue that we will solve, then it's better for us to head to the court so that we separate the marriage.
Okay, welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Family and Values on Galaxy Television, where we are reaching out for the stars, and we have been discussing bigamy and its consequences, and we still have Barrister, joining us via Zoom to have this conversation with us. Hello, Barrister. Still there? Okay. now I was coming to that. We had to make it simpler for them to understand what we were talking about. I heard somebody say, no, I'll let them go freely to enjoy their life. The other one said, no, I would definitely sue you. No, I can't take it. And the other one said, even in the future, we do not see that happening because we have channeled a particular path for ourselves. And I'm thinking, well, you're not in the future yet. You can never decide when one person will just decide to go off the room. But before we went on that break, I wanted to ask these questions. Now, these laws that are set, is it in favor of the lady or the spouse that is being cheated upon? Do you see it as trying to protect one particular spouse, okay, so that you don't lose out on what is legally yours for yourself and the kids? Do you think that's the reason why those laws were put in place? Like, okay, fine, those things are happening, but let's protect this one that is vulnerable and give her a say in the court of law.
Okay. I'm so excited that you asked this question, Joy, because I actually got into an argument with my husband about it. He's a lawyer too, and we run our firm together. So when I was rubbing minds with him, I said, what is the purport? There's always a spirit of the law. The letter of the law is there. The spirit of the law is there. And I was making him understand that the spirit behind this law, just like you said, is to protect the spouse, the legal spouse, the first wife or the first husband, as it were. I don't want to use woman now because you always say woman, but the law provides for both. So it's the spouse, it's to protect that spouse and to protect the spouse's children. And especially as it regards to their rights under that marriage, as it regards to inheritance and all of those things. Those were all the things that were at the back of the mind of the people that made this law. It's protection, that you have, you are the initial spouse of someone, you have built something together, you've had children together and all of that. And, suddenly, the vows that you took, because, let's not forget all those vows that come into when you go through a court marriage, and they keep reiterating to you. I remember, because even my registry wedding, I remember that they will keep on saying that, do you understand? Can you hear this? In fact, this law that I'm talking to you about is always quoted. It's actually quoted to you at every registry wedding to say that, all of this is just meant to protect, so that what you have, that marriage you have gone through, you are at ease in it and you are confident in it. So how the extent of the protection that it has offered through the years, especially in our part of the world, well, that leaves to be argued, but that is the spirit and the purpose of the law, to protect that spouse and to protect their offsprings, in that marriage. That is the spirit behind that law.
Okay, now I'll have to bring this because there's been this controversy going on the internet, a very popular celebrity, was sued by the wife for bigamy. And then when they went to court, and he said, no, I'm not married to her. We are just kid makers. You know, we are just there to make people laugh. And there are evidences, because offsprings have been produced from the second marriage. And the man is saying, no, 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 no. Both of them, in fact, denied it in court and said, no, we are not, so we are just kit makers. And everybody, you know, started laughing like, okay, what is he running away from? Now, you just said something that Lagos State has decriminalized this law, so you don't have to go 7 years in jail. Now, if you were to handle such a case as a barrister, what were you going to do? Because the lady, the first wife that is suing, this husband is saying, no, I'm not legally married. We are just kid makers. We just want to make people laugh. And, you know, like I said, offsprings have been produced from the second marriage. In such a situation, what would you advise the first wife to take? What are all the steps she can take to bring this law into manifestation?
Well, if, I don't know where they conducted their first marriage, but let's assume it is in Lagos. Like you said, there's no criminal recourse. So the gentleman is definitely not going to go to jail. But there are civil redresses. What she can ask for are damages, for emotional harm, and it all comes to money and maybe just putting the man through the hoops, as it were. But I can guarantee that if bull comes to shove, she has recourse to the law. The children are there, but you know, but men have children every day, all over the place. From in a country like ours, it's has fairly become the norm. But you know, if you're going to prove bigamy in court, you understand, you have to be able to show this another marriage took place. You have to be able to prove it. You know, anything you take to court, you have to prove. The onus is on you to prove, you that you are, you know, bringing the case in to say, these are the pictures, they were at this registry. If possible, you need to even lay your hands on the certificates, on the marriage certificate, to show that he actually did, you know, another wedding that you can tender. But just like you said, if it is rebuffed and, you know, what they are saying it's a skit, that's a defense, especially if you cannot, you know, counter that defense. So for me, if they have said so, that is still, for me, it's an advantage to you. Hold on to their defense. That is a skit. And like I said, the spirit of this law is when bull comes to show and maybe time comes for inheritance and stuff, you have the upper hand. But when it comes to the marriage itself, you are at liberty as a spouse. If you find out something, even if you find out that your spouse has children outside, it's up to you to decide whether you want to stay, you want to go, you know, and all of that. But as far as the law is concerned, if you can't prove, then the law will take its course. But if you cannot prove, and especially if the person is saying, is denying, which, you know, of course, it's always a hard thing to prove, especially in a country like ours, it's always hard to prove. You know, but it's not as if it's impossible. But you have recourse to civil. If you want to really take him through the hoops, sue for damages, that, you know, there's been so much spare online, you can actually go through it. And if you're ready to go through it and, you know, have him, you know, part with something worthwhile. But, you know, we women are emotional like that and all of that. So a lot of the times we don't even want to go through that because we have children, you know, to protect and all of that. So all of those things. So it's a big picture. And because it's an emotional thing and because it's also a societal thing, a lot of things come to bear. So, but it's not as if she's totally defenseless. No, she's protected. The law protects a legal wife. That we must take away. Or a legal husband. Like I say, it works both ways.
I love the fact that you're saying the legal husband. You know, it's very uncommon to see a woman, you know, going to get married to another woman. But then, in the course of your practice,
husband or wife. That's what
wife.
The law
Okay,
says.
for the sake of the conversation, we are going to be using husband and wife and then spouse. Okay, now in the course of practice over the years, aside Lagos State, have you heard of any part of the country where a man or woman has been sent to jail, 7 years in prison? Because I'm obviously shocked that you could go to jail for 7 years. So I definitely have to tell some people like, hey, come on, wake up. You have a court case you're supposed to pursue, you know. Now, have you heard of any cases where, okay, fine, the legal partner won and the other person was sentenced to 7 years imprisonment in any parts of the country, aside the fact that Lagos State has decriminalized theirs?
Sincerely, I haven't heard of the jail thing. Because like we said, that law, it takes a lot to pursue it, and I think that's also why Lagos State did what they did. And I'm sure if we look at a lot of the other states too, it hasn't been. Let's just imagine it. You start from the policeman who is supposed to even take the case, who is also guilty of what you are talking about, to even the lawyer, to the judge. It's always, I think it's an uphill task. But it's not as if, I think there's a case recently, I think it's still in court, that someone has sued. We're still waiting to see where that is going to come from, because I think it was all over the place, that a man that was sued recently. We're still waiting to, but I haven't heard of any convictions. Yes, I stand to be corrected. It's quite possible, but I haven't heard of any convictions yet for bigamy, as it were, in Nigeria.
Okay, so now let's talk about the emotional damage that this law, causes to the partner that is being affected. Like I'm using instances where a lot of men travel out, and maybe for greener pastures, they get married, and then you see them do proper registry marriages, and they return back to the country. They feel like, okay, I need to have a second wife at home. And then they still go through the process of registry, all in quote, trying to protect whatever access they've had. They say, okay, fine, so that in case the woman outside the country does not bring the children, this one here can protect it. Now, how do you handle the emotional aspect when most of those women return back discovering that, like, I'll give you an instance. I heard, or I know someone who was married for close to 10 years outside the country, and both of them are Nigerians. They actually got married here before they traveled, and probably the fear of the man thinking that, okay, when the woman gets there, she's going to go wild, he cannot control her, because according to him, the laws over there favor women. So he quickly came back to Nigeria and got married to another lady. Through the process, went through the customary, the traditional, the church, and did everything. And upon returning back, the other lady discovered that for 10 years she's been married to him over there. He was married here, I think, for about 7 years, and they had 2 kids. And this was a whole lot. And both of them are Nigerians. And it was a whole lot. Family came in and all of that. In a situation like that, what do you advise the first woman to do, especially when family is saying you cannot sue him? This is Africa. If you want to do that, go over there where you're coming from. And you people did not get married over there. You actually got married here before leaving. How do you go about such situations?
Yeah, Joy, like I said, it's an individual thing. It's a family thing, and it's a legal thing. The woman has redress under the law. Whether she now chooses to pursue it is entirely up to her. Do you understand? It's entirely up to her. But the law is the law, and it's not going to change because of one person. The laws are there, and just like we said, they're there to protect you. So if you come around and decide that we're going to see this through, definitely that immediately she files that case. You can, in a country like ours, you can imagine the kind of pressure that she's going to go through, even from our own people, who are going to say, you want to take a father of your children to court. You want this,
Yeah,
so we all know how it is. Probably that's also the reason why in our part of the country, nobody, the law is just there and nobody pursues it. Because I can imagine you filing it first and going to serve, and your mother or your father appearing and say, is everything okay? Leave him now. You go your own way. This one, that one, So for me, even if not criminal, but it depends on, if it's really something that has hurt, that, you've had issues, maybe there's neglect, there is him not living up to his responsibilities and all of that, then you can seek the civil redress and say that, well, for one thing, he has committed something that is illegal, that marriage is void, and I'm suing him for so amount of money, because, there's been harm, there's been emotional harm to me, there's been financial harm to me.
Sure.
So you can't pursue that. And I'm sure that you can get redress for that, even if we don't go to the fact that you want to send him to jail.
Okay.
You understand? Which everything that goes along with that. But you can seek redress. Yes, you can. A lot of women pursue these opportunities. Just like I said, because of all these things I mentioned, but you can seek redress, especially where there's been a lot of neglect and, emotional battery, as it were, because there's sometimes everything is emotional, it's not just physical. Sometimes it's just emotional, and the woman has been through the ringers and becomes a shadow of herself, and she can't cope, she can't take care of her children, she's been totally abandoned and all of that. You can't seek civil redress. In a state like Lagos, you can seek civil redress. Outside Lagos, you can actually pursue even criminal, you can pursue it criminally, and see where it ends.
Okay, Barrister,
with the law, I realize that a lot of people have an apathy, but sometimes you just have to go.
As we round up the show, I would love you to give out if there are other underlining things about these laws that we need to know to understand, so that in case you have a family somewhere, somebody is watching and has found his or herself in this kind of situation, don't know how to go about it, what are the first steps they can take? What are other things they need to be sure of and certified before they even decide that, okay, I want to pursue this? What are other underlining things? And then aside the suing for damages, the 7 years, are there any other consequences that can come around this whole law? But basically, what are the underlying things about this law, and what are those steps, basic steps, that the woman or the man need to have in place before you even say, okay, this is what I want to pursue? Okay, what are the documents they need to have in place? What are the evidences they are going to be presenting before the court to say, okay, this is my case and this is why I'm filing for this or suing for this? As we round up the show.
Yeah, like it's another marriage. That's your problem. Another marriage has been conducted. So you need evidence of that other marriage. If it's a certificate, you need it. If it's pictures at education, showing the two of them and showing what is being done. If it's a recording that cannot be debunked. Because look at the one now that you said, it's a skit. So that for you, when someone says it's a skit, you now have to be able to say, this is the certificate, it's not a skit. Do you understand? You have to be able to say that this is another marriage under the acts that has been conducted. And so for you have to have, if you don't have those evidences, it's going to be very difficult for you to prove. So you have to do your homework and make sure that you have it. And then of course the easiest part is you have to talk to a lawyer. Talk to a lawyer. You can't do it on your own. Immediately you find this, okay, the lawyer is going to tell you, okay, what are the evidence, what are the things we have that we can use? Because when it comes to the courts, you can say this person says his story, that person says their story. Stories are stories. It's what you tender before the court evidentially that trumps. So it's only if you can say, these are the pictures, this is a video, this is an audio recording, this is the certificate of the marriage and all of that. Oh, they've been living together for so all of those things was found. But the most important is that you have evidence, physical, probably, of another marriage. That is what you can use to prove this, mainly. Because a lot of our men will run to the customary, a lot of our men will run to the religious, and half of the time there's really nothing you can do about that. But if you can say that, well, there are two subsisting court marriages, there are two subsisting registry marriages, and you can't prove it, then definitely you can, take this up and have redress.
Wow, thank you very much, Barrister Shade Suleiman, for giving us an insight into today's topic. Trust me, I've learned a lot. Now I know that, okay, aside Lagos State, you can go 7 years in jail, jail, waiting for you. Everybody that is coming under the disguise of I'm polygamous in nature, now the law would definitely stare at you. Thank you very much for being a part of Family and Values this morning. Thank you for bringing your wealth of knowledge. Have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday, and I wish you the very best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone for watching.
Yes,
it's a pleasure being
you've
here.
heard it all from the barrister herself. In case you have one uncle or one auntie, well, I've seen a case where a woman actually married 2 men, but those are rare cases, not in Nigeria anyway, not even in Africa, so take your mind off it. Thank you very much for being a part of Family and Values this morning. Thank you. Tomorrow is Healthy Thursday. Oh yes, where we have to talk about everything that has to do with health, and we will be discussing menopause. Okay. menopause. That's what we'll be discussing tomorrow. Menopause and its strings. We've had a lot of people, you know, complain, oh, I don't know what's happening to me, and then they don't know that they are approaching that stage in their life. But well, we'll leave that conversation for the doctor to handle tomorrow when he comes in to do justice to the topic tomorrow. So stay tuned with us tomorrow as we will be discussing menopause and its strings. Okay, my name is Remain Joy Abu. Thank you very much, and thank you, Barrister, for being our guest via Zoom. Thank you, everyone that have stayed tuned, that is watching from home. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please turn on your Facebook and X notification. Topics like this, you need to share. Don't be stingy. Don't listen alone. Share. You know, put it on your status. Go to your WhatsApp. All of you that are fond of sharing prayer requests, share this one too also, so that it will not turn to prayer requests. You know, share it and let people get to understand the knowledge and know that yes, laws are still functional and working in Nigeria. Thank you very much. I bless you, God, for having a great show this morning. Thank you to all the crew members. I'll see you tomorrow. My name still remains Joy. I will have a great Wednesday ahead.